All right, super legends, superheroes, superstars. We are back for session two, the lunchtime session. Can't even say that properly. And we are up with my main man, Robbie Toole. So I think I've known Robbie since 2018, and we've both had like a really similar like journey where we're in like the corporate world. I think both doing like sales, and it's just cool that we're both like in the coaching arena at the moment. So that is cool. All right, I can see people are jumping on. I don't want to take too much of Robbie's time, so while everybody joins, I'm going to get Robbie out. All right, so I want to give a big, warm, massive welcome to my main man, Robbie Toole.
Thanks,
How are you,
Brian.
legend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Very, very well.
So
Yeah, today, I was going to chat a little bit about leadership. And then, like you said, coming from the corporate world, that's something that's quite prevalent in there, or you need to have some level of it. And the truth is, you probably know this yourself, but leadership comes in many forms, right? It's not just a professional thing. It's not just how you get up the ranks, not managing people. It kind of like lands on us everywhere. And truth is, it could be in your relationships. It could be in teams. But the one thing that I found commonly in all the thousands of people that I've led in all my time is the number one thing that actually led to the greatest success or the most successful leaders has been about the leadership of the self. It all comes back to how you lead yourself, because if you're not prepared to lead, then you're going to get led. And that means you're going to be easily influenced by other people. You're going to be easily influenced by outside events. And so I got really curious about that. And my own journey sort of started, where I started to realize this to be true is about 2008. I was becoming easily led by outside influences. I was living in Sydney, and for those of you streaming, Sydney has it's a beautiful city, but at the same time, it does have this level of I guess superficiality, because the people are beautiful, the beaches are beautiful, everyone's worried about how they look. And I found myself falling into this trap. And I got to this point, and one of the key lessons here is that I realized, hang on, this is not who I want to be. I want to be better than that, and I've got to change this. So if you don't like something, change it. And so I was listening to like NLP records and things like that, and Chris Howard came up and he said, if this is the problem and that's the not problem, what is it you're choosing to ignore to make you think you've got a problem in the first place? Light bulb. So I pulled myself out, reset life, and went down to Melbourne. So if you don't like it, you can change it. And then I went traveling for a little while. And this is another really big one, is that, what is within your control and what is not within your control. And most people feel like that the things that are outside of their control, they take up a lot of their space. And they end up getting stressed out about all this stuff, but you don't need to. You've got to focus on things that are within your control. And I got back from travel and I couldn't get work, and it was a really stressful time. And the reality is that I started having to realize, well, what can I do about this? Get really real with myself. What can I do about this? And one of the simplest things I could do is actually look after myself. And ever since then, if you look after your body, your mind, yourself, your person, it made me realize just how important that is for your resilience to be able to take on anything, because life is going to barrage us. No matter what, we're always going to have outside influences start to impact us and affect us. And our ability to bounce back from that really stems from how we look after ourselves. So leading yourself to be healthy and well and able is one of the most important things that came from that. And the other thing was, in that moment, is if you just keep going, if you move towards whatever it is that you want to do, if you keep going, you only fail when you quit. And so it's important to you then carry on. Over the next 5 years, I was promoted 3 times, ended up the head of business development at Staples, and then ended up as a general manager in a strategy role of a tech company. And I just kept moving forward and made sure I looked after myself. And those things were really true. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and it hit everybody really hard. And that was a challenging time. And for many other reasons in my world, emotionally, and this breakup and new home had to be sought, and lost the job at the same time. And then the next really big one came to light. And admittedly, it was really hard for a lot of people. Mine was a little bit of a different story. But at the end of the day, I realized that purpose is far more important than a paycheck. And that's what led me to doing this kind of work that I'm doing now. And I'm so pleased that the opportunity, not the travesty, the opportunity landed for me so that I was able to make that transition without the guilt of I'm giving up this big paycheck to move across into something that I have to start from the beginning again. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that challenge. And so purpose is more important than a paycheck. So I found myself working with another amazing coach, Christy Wagstaff, and she does NLP and hypnotherapy. A little bit different to me because I'm all about, focusing on like self-leadership and developing programs and material. But it's a nice balance. And we started building this program that is all about self-leadership. It's about looking after you, who you are, what you're about, and what everything is to you, and how you can approach life to live the best way that you really want to, even when life hits us pretty hard. So I want to talk a little bit about 3 key elements of what make up, I guess, that program was put together, because they're probably the most critical things when it comes to self-leadership. And the first one is all about Dr. Me. And this is a framework I've put together. It's diet, rest, meditation, and exercise. And those fundamentals, you get you right, everything else becomes so much easier. And I'll talk through the cycle of growth that goes after that. And the final thing is your legacy. So Dre, if it's all right, I might share this screen with everybody really quick here. Yeah, there we go. So I hope you can all see my screen. Well, there we go. You've got it on screen there for you. So guys, diet, rest, meditation, exercise. And we do little workshops and we do challenges with Dr. Me all the time. And the reason we do it is because when life throws difficult times at you, or you get sudden change, or somebody says something to you that might rock the boat, if you are right in yourself, if you are feeling good about you, you're feeling fit, you're feeling resilient, your mind is clear, it is so much harder to rock the boat because you are just a calm ocean. You are not able to easily be rocked. You become unshakable. And so when we do our challenges, there are a couple of little rules here. So for anyone who decides they want to try this out, especially if you're having a bit of a difficult time, because I guarantee if you feel good about yourself, everything else starts to change too. That these 5 rules, these 5 to thrive, make it a lot easier for you to stay consistent with it. And that's the biggest thing that comes down to, is being consistent. So the first one is take action. And something is always better than nothing. There are times where I've woken up and gone, I am out of time, but I'll take the 10 minutes that I've got to just do a quick run around the block. Better than nothing. So always something is better than nothing. The second one is enhance. So always try to aim for doing at least the same as you did the day before or the last time you did it, or better. That way you're always progressing and always moving forward. It's really, really important that we feel like we're progressing in what we're doing and challenging our bodies and challenging our minds to do more and get better at the skills that we're trying to enhance within ourselves. The third one, and this is probably the most critical one, is consistency. And that goes across life in general, but consistency here. So we say 4 to 6 days per week will create the lasting change that you want. So minimum 4 and up to 6, of course, have a day off, along the way. And when it comes to exercise, only train 4 days a week. So, make sure that you're getting the balance you need, but try to make sure that it's minimum 4 to 6. So you're being consistent and it becomes something that a part of who you are. The fourth one is explore, create variety. I mean, there's nothing worse than doing the same old things and then getting bored with it or getting too good at it so that you're no longer challenging yourself, you're no longer growing. So create variety, explore different ways of getting the same outcomes and growing in your practice of diet, rest, meditation, and exercise. And the last one is to become. And I nearly touched on it with consistency, but become a person who does this, not just somebody who's trying it out. Make it part of the fabric of who you are. And if you can apply any of these to your Dr. Me practice, essentially you are going to feel so much more capable, so much more ready, as if you were in an attack position, ready to launch at whatever life throws at you. So that's why we focus on it as such a fundamental principle within the framework in Secret Sauce. Now, here's another interesting thing. We call this a cycle of growth, and I want to share with you, a little bit about what this means, because again, as I said during my story, what we focus on is what we get. And more than that, when we never give up, we will always win. Now, if you look at this cycle of growth, you can see there's 2 versions of it. One is a cycle of growth, and that is never-ending expansion. The second is a cycle of demise, which is a contraction cycle, and it ultimately will eventually lead to nothing. It'll whittle down to 0. Now, if you look through this, we've got action in the quadrants. We can take action, which leads to a result, which leads to giving us some kind of new evidence, proof, And then from there, we get to create a new belief. And so the cycle goes. Now, if you look at this, where we start with action, you've got massive action or you've got minor action. That is something we can influence. Then we've got the result. We've got success or failure. Now, that is one thing that we do not have any influence over or any control over. We can influence by making massive action versus minor action, right? As we move into new evidence, well, we can either learn from that experience, or if it fails, we can judge ourselves on it and get really critical of ourselves. And I used to be really bad at that. And it took some training for me to go, hang on, what can I learn here? How can I grow out of this? And so the last part is then, well, what belief do we create as a result of this? That you can, that I can't, that I will or I won't. And so the real truth of the matter is, when you look at these two cycles, one that's going to like expand you exponentially to infinity, the other to literally nothing. The only thing that is outside of our control is the result. So 75% of this cycle of growth is actually up to us. And if you're leading yourself from the front, you start to see the world in a new way. People talk about a growth mindset. This is exactly what we talk about there. So I want to put that into context because, if you're constantly putting in small amounts of effort and then getting terrible results, it's really easy to judge and then doubt your abilities from there. Whereas if you put in massive effort, and even if you fail at that point, you can still feel good about what happened so you can learn from that experience. It's really easy to stack on success. It's really easy to go, wow, I learned something great, this really worked, and off we go. But what's really hard is when we put in massive effort and it still doesn't work. So that's where we've got to flip the switch and go, okay, what do I learn from this and where will I go from here? So the cycle of growth is really, really important, and it is applicable to literally every aspect of life. Nobody is immune here. So keep that in mind. We have 75% control over this entire model. Only 25% is what we can't. And that is just because it's the result. Nobody can control the result about anything. We can influence it by the level of effort we put in. And so the third thing here, guys, is all about legacy. And we spend a bit of time on this because it's really important to check in with yourself. And we always want to be doing our best. And this is where I realized that purpose is more important than a paycheck. Really, really important. And in Secret Sauce, we actually do this activity where we do a race against your best self. We'll kind of check in, see where we're at, because everyone gets so distracted by the day-to-day. And we sometimes don't lift our head up to kind of go, am I doing the right things for where I want to end up? I'm busy doing, but is this actually where I want to go? And so the opportunity I had with the pandemic coming through was I had to lift my head up and I had to ask some tough questions and had to kind of go, well, what do I want to do with my life? And who do I want to serve? And how do I want to be remembered? More importantly, when it comes to legacy. And so we do this little activity where people check in and they rate themselves against, am I going to be where I see myself in the long term? Or am I not? And how do I know then where I should point the arrow? Where should I put my energy and attention to make sure I course correct and get myself back on track for where I want to be and who I want to be? And so the truth is this concept came to light, and you can see here these two gentlemen in the mirror, one a little concerned and one, loving life and impressed with himself. And this comes off, I think it was 2015, I saw a meme and it frightened the bejesus out of me. It was a meme that said, the definition of hell is arriving to your final day and coming face to face with who you could have been. And that shot an arrow straight through me. And I said, wow, do I ever want to get to that point where I haven't taken the opportunities that I should? Do I ever want to get to the point in life where I've wished that I had done something that I never did and I've got this regret? And I know there's not a soul out there who would want to feel that way when they get there, but the day-to-day distracts us from realizing that one day in the future, we're going to have that opportunity, and it's our ability to take the opportunities that present to us through our life to get us to that day. So we look in the mirror and say, there you are. Not, I'm looking at a reflection of somebody else that I could have been and the potential that was missed. So I hope that resonates with everybody because it's so, so true. And when it comes down to it, this is all self-leadership. This is taking control of you so that the opportunities for leading a successful team, so that you can have good leadership in leading your relationship to better places, whatever it might be, these fundamental aspects will change the game for you. So Dre, that's the prezzo and the slides there for you. I hope that that's been helpful. So with that, do you have any questions?
Mate, absolute fire. Seem to be less people on at the moment. So guys, we are live. We are ready to rock and roll. Robbie, you delivering the goods as always. And I love the way that you present. You're so smooth and like charismatic. So love it.
Thanks, mate. I enjoy talking about this stuff. It's really, really important to me. I mean, the truth is we put this program together simply for the fact that, you know, all the business clients I was working with and the one-on-one clients, it all came back to this one thing. Where they were failing at the mission they were on, it came back to the self-leadership. And even in the teams that I've trained, it was rarely about the job. It was who the person is and who they want to be remembered for, how they want to approach life and how they want to lead. And so it always came back to the self. And that's how I got the most performance out of every team that I've ever worked with, is focus on this aspect, get right with you, figure out what you want and make sure that you're not afraid to go after it. And when you take those shackles off people, all of a sudden, you know, the gates open up and people come flying out. You're a sprinter. You know what I'm talking about there, right? Out of the blocks.
Mate, and this comment from Mel, this is what resonated for me. Purpose over paycheck. Purpose over paycheck. I love that.
Yeah, it's a pretty big lesson, that one, huh?
Yeah. All right. So my questions would be, with your clients, what are those common like patterns or challenges or obstacles that you see with them?
Yeah, it's, you know, there's probably no surprise to people, but consistency. Now, I talked in Dr. Me about the third 5 to Thrive. It's consistency. And the reason we have that as a baseline, if you can look after yourself consistently, you're starting to train that consistency in how you show up in other areas. So the number one thing is consistency, because what tends to happen is people get excited. They get really excited. It's a new concept, or they're learning something new, or Robbie, thank you for that. And then they go ahead and do it for a day, maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe a week, maybe a month. But then distractions get back in the way and new things are coming along, and they start to put these things to the back burner, and it becomes less important to them. And all of a sudden they go, oh, the results aren't here again. And it's very easy to come back to, well, what's going wrong here for you? Because I asked one question, are these things still happening? And they go, oh, not as much as they were. Okay. So we can have the same conversation on repeat, or we can just get real with ourselves and start to do this stuff and make sure we're prioritizing it first and foremost, so that everything else falls into place for you. So consistency would definitely be the number one thing.
I love that. All right. Say if there's anyone watching like now, the replay, or listening on Spotify, and they're thinking, oh, you know, I've seen some, you know, like some awesome coaches, you know, over this weekend. You know, it's maybe something that I want to do, you know, a bit 50-50. What would you say to someone that wants to get into coaching? What would be like your advice or your guidance? Or, apart from run, don't do it.
Look, it's an interesting space, and I think there's a need for more and more of it, because let's be fair, you know, people need to know what they don't know, and you don't know what you don't know until you know. And that's something that Christy, my business partner, says regularly, and it sort of ingrains in us all. But I'd say 100% explore it. Now, the number one thing I would say really to anyone, coaches or other, is if you've got an interest or a curiosity about something, scratch the itch. The only way you're really going to truly know is by the doing, not the thinking, not the reading, because you can get concepts, but they don't really land for you until you're actually experiencing that. And wisdom comes from experience. Knowledge is one thing, but wisdom is because of experience, because you've been there, you've done it, you've got the emotional attachments or considerations for having been through it. You can't gain wisdom from reading a book. You know that. We know that. You know, it just doesn't work that way. You can get great ideas, great knowledge, things to apply so that you're armed and capable to then tackle the experience. But you got to have the experience in order to gain the wisdom. So try it out. Try it. And if you don't like it, pivot, change. I mean, that's the journey you get on as an entrepreneur, is you just flex to the situation based on the feedback you get and the data you get and the cycle of growth. And you either expand and continue to pivot and evolve, or you go, oh, this isn't working, and so I don't think I'll do it, and you end up going down to nothing, and it's all over, show's over, and go get a job. Just over broke.
Awesome. What's the best way for people to get hold of you? And do you have any workshops, challenges, programs, and like what can people sort of jump on, or any sort of resources or?
Yeah, no worries. Well, look, we're doing an intake for Secret Sauce in August. So that's coming up. So if anyone's a little bit curious about that, then yeah, absolutely, come and join us. What we'll do is we'll probably get you a link, and that'll book in some time and allocate your slot. So if you want to book it in and just check it out, to suss it out, and then from that conversation, it'll be a conversation with me. We'll say, is this the right thing for you? Because there is a time commitment. We do it over 24 weeks, so it's important that if you want to do it and you really want to make that lasting change, that you're prepared to do that. I don't want to get people to come along and then they go, oh, I can't really do this. Like, if you're really committed and you really want to make that change, then come and check us out. So I guess you could come and see me at robbytall.com. There's a chat function. The guys will be able to get you the details there. Otherwise, find me here on Facebook or Instagram, Mr._Robbie Tall on Instagram, or just Robbie Tall here on Facebook. But send me a message, and if that's something you're interested in doing, we'll get you the details. We'll book in a call. It'll be with me. And the truth is, it's just about finding, is this the right fit? Is this the right fit for you? And if it's not, I'll be honest and tell you that. And if it is, then we'll figure out what that looks like, and we can move forward from there.
Awesome, Robert. I just want to say, because I know that we've spoken on the phone like a few times, and you were telling me about Secret Sauce, and it wasn't until the other day that I actually saw it spelt. Because I thought it was like sauce, but it's actually, I saw it and I was like, that is genius. Secret from the source, from that.
Yeah, well, the truth is, within each of us is an innate ability to handle anything. Truth is, you know that. We've all had those moments where we've come out of it going, in hindsight, it wasn't that hard, but in it, that sucked. And we can do it. But with training, with understanding, with awareness, we can start to accept things for what they are. And that leads us to taking new action. That's another principle in there is awareness leads to acceptance, and then you can take new action. And if you have that fundamentally built into you, nothing can rock you as hard as it used to. So we call it Secret Sauce because it's really tapping into what is innate within each of us, your own secret sauce. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I love that. Firstly, just want to say a massive, huge thank you to you, because I know that you had a lot going on when I invited you on, and you're like, yeah, let me have a look. You're like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this.
It's always good to catch up with you, and I love what you're doing. This stuff is really, really cool, and I'm impressed. And I think everybody watching, like, huge kudos to you for pulling this all together, and so many different coaches who've got so much to share. And behind the scenes, there's a lot going on as well. And here you are showing up for all these people and for such a great cause. So, mate, big kudos to you, and thank you again for having me. Yeah,
thank you, bro. Appreciate all the support, all the guidance, absolutely everything. I love you to bits. You enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you giving up your time. You go be amazing, go be awesome, and I'll catch up with you really soon, mate.
Sounds great. Take care, man. See you, everyone.
See ya.